I thought I was coming to the Census Bureau, but when I saw you all start walking in those doors, I thought I had died and gone to a New York City fashion show. You all look fabulous. Well, I'm talking to the ladies, you understand that. But you all look fabulous. Give yourselves a big hand for taking time out to come today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I suppose you want to know how I ended up at Channel 9? I was in Portland, Maine, and I had a chance to come to Channel 9 to do an interview. And when the big guy walked in that had shiny shoes, and he had a monogram on his cuff, and his hair was all coiffed, and he said, "Miss Fox, we want you here." I went, phew. But what do you think happened the next day? Nothing. What do you think happened a week later? Got it, you got it. Nothing. And I thought, well, am I going to work there or not? Am I going to get a contract or not? I left a message with the old newsroom bulldog, you know, the kind we had years ago before we had email. What do you think happened? So I'm walking down the street in Portland, Maine, and I see this sign that says, "Will ship anywhere." I walked right in. I had them stick 2 of these bad boys in a box with a note that said, "I would hate to leave these guys behind, but for you I would. I want that job." And what do you think happened? I got the call, and then the contract came the next day overnighted. So if you ever want to move up in your career, never mind the rest of what I say, just stick something in a bag, basket, or box and give it to the boss. It works, all right? So what are you doing right now? You've been doing it ever since I stood up here. What are you doing? Shout it out. That's the way this works. We're informal, right? Who said listening? You said listening? Sir, you can have a cake pop. You see how this works? I ask a question, you answer, but then you have to hang on to it because you become the cake pop runner. All right? Take a bow, take a bow. Very good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So what else are you doing? He said listening, some others said listening. What else? Watching. That's good enough, Mr. Runner. Somebody said watching back there. All the way in the back, I hope. All right, and now what else? There's one more big thing you've been doing ever since I stood up here.
Communicating.
Laughing? I love you. He can have 2 cake pops if you're laughing. I live for laughs. But there's something else. Sitting, that doesn't count. You have been asking this question. You've been playing Judge Judy. You've been trying to decide if you can listen to my voice in the first 10 seconds. Can I listen to that voice for a whole 45 minutes because she sounds just like my mother? Tell the truth. Who thinks that? I see those hands, okay, down front. They can have a cake pop. You've been trying to decide, why don't I stand up straight? I have my mother's back. I pray every day that it gets fixed and nobody's listening. But this is the big question. Can I really learn anything from somebody with that hair color? You are, I know. Raise your hand if you're a millennial. You're trying to figure out how to get out of here right now. My granddaughter called the other day, and she said, "Grammy Jan, you're only 1 away from 70. I said, "Don't call here anymore, sweetheart." But I'm 1 away from 70, exactly. So when you are judging me, and you know you are, and you stand up to speak or to make a presentation, you know everybody's doing that to you too in the blink of an eye. That's why a lot of people get whacked out about public speaking. They hate it. Raise your hand if you hate it. I might have to work you over in a little while, all right? So here's a comfortability continuum. That's not a word, I know that, I made it up, but I want to know if you're comfortable and if you feel good about how you speak. So a woman named Sandra over at an office in Vienna said, Foxy, I can't do it. I've been asked to speak at my annual meeting, just like this, and I'm going to get drunk. Sandra, you can't get drunk. Yes, I am. I'm going to get drunk. I'm going to at least have a drink. No, you can't have a drink. I'll take a Valium. Well, then you'll slur your words and sound terrible. So we got her to just calm down, and I had to put my hand behind her back and kind of pull her off the wall. She was trying to squeeze herself into it and disappear. So we got her to where she can tolerate it. And then she found out she was funny, and people laughed, and now she really kind of likes it. But here's where I want you. I want you to be so bold at speaking that you get exhilarated when you're invited to do something like this. When I make it out of here to the first stoplight, I'll be higher than a kite and I won't drink. I don't drink a drop. But I will be so exhilarated and so excited about having been here. And if I see any of you, if your potential pops a little bit, I will be really excited. When the light turns, I'll still be sitting there feeling good about it all. And that's where I want you to. The reason is speaking well is the number one reason you can add value to where you work. It's the number one reason where you can grow your career track. And it's the number one reason why people pay attention to you. What good is your mission? What good is all your list of goals if you can't speak it so people follow? I want that for you. I want big, bold impact for you, really fast, just like that ripple effect. And I also want you to be thought of as a thought leader. I want people to look at you and say, wow, he or she really knows what's going on. And the only way they know that is if you're speaking it, as if you're speaking well. And if you just speak a little better, that's all, nothing else, no big classes, just speak a little better and make a real concerted effort to do that, all of these other things come to you just by speaking better. It sort of works like this. If you're at a networking event, say out here a little bit, and people say, what do you do? And you give them one of those great big long titles with all of those great big long letters that come on all these programs that you have, and they start backing up like this. That proficiency was only good enough to make somebody look like Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk. And you don't have a big sphere of influence. Maybe your wife or my husband actually says no multiple part questions before 8 o'clock in the morning. So I'm not sure about my sphere of influence in my home, but maybe your cat pays attention. And then if you get a little better, watch. People start saying, I get that. They accept what you say. I get that. Just accept, but isn't that better than none? And your sphere of influence becomes the local area around you, and you get a little better. You move right on up, and people start using aspire language. They say, I want that. I got to have that. I really, really hope I can get that. And don't you know that the broader business pays attention then, because people who can get people to aspire to what you want them to do, that's gold for an organization like yours. And so when you practice your proficiency, people start to act on what you say. And don't you know the senior leadership pays attention? They pay attention to the people who can get people to act when they speak. And then here's where I really want you, and I know some of you are already here. I want all of you here. When you have full speaking proficiency, you inspire people to want to achieve their fullest potential. That's platinum. And then the whole global community pays attention to you. So that's why bold speaking is not just another little, this is your daddy's presentation skills class. It's your livelihood. It's your career track. I want you to think for a minute about the speaking opportunities you have. Just shout one out in here. It's give an update to the boss at a staff meeting. Where do you have speaking opportunities? Shout, what? Interview. Hey, pass the cake pops. What else? Lunch. Yes, you get to do networking at lunch. Very important. And we laugh about that. But that is so critically important because you never know who's listening. Where else? Meetings, conferences. Doing this. You have lots of opportunities that you hardly ever think about, but in every one of those, speak your best. The bold speaker, what does the bold speaker look like? First of all, the bold speaker is believable. Now, I have a picture of Dolly Parton here on this slide that says believable. Do you see an oxymoron there at all? I hear those giggles. That giggle was worth a cake pop, wasn't it? So I had a chance to interview her years ago. I was with about 50 other talk show hosts. We each had 10 minutes. What do you think they all wanted to ask her? Could I be politically incorrect here for a minute? Where's the HR vice president? Hide your eyes, hide yours. So what did they want to ask her? If anything was fake, yes, that's a nice way to say it. It's, are they real, was the real question. So I'm not going to ask that question, I'm too polite. So I say, Dolly, is there ever a time you want to flip the fingernails off, throw those wigs off, let the air out of some things if you can, and just be Dolly Rebecca Parton Dean? Well, honey, I am always Dolly Parton, Dolly Rebecca Parton, however that goes. But this is just a good barn. You can paint it up so it looks real pretty. But if you take the paint and powder off, it's still a dang good barn. So I don't know if they're real. I have no idea. I didn't get the answer. But for 5 years, I walked the streets of Boston, and people would stop me and say, hey, Miss Fox, I saw that interview with Dolly Parton. Hey, that interview with Dolly Parton was great, haha. Nobody ever once stopped me to say, I really enjoyed your interview with John Kenneth Galbraith. That was John Kennedy's economist. The way it started was, how much time do we have here today? About 7 minutes, I say. Just enough time to make my whole life's work seem totally inconsequential, my dear. So I'm glad nobody remembered that interview. I was scared to death through the whole thing. But here's what Dolly Parton said next. She said, I come from a county in Kentucky where we don't have enough food. We can't put food on our tables for our kids. I come from a county where we don't have enough fuel for the winter. And we don't have enough school supplies. I thought if I came out here and sang a few songs, nobody'd buy any of my records. I probably couldn't get a record deal. But I thought if I came out here to LA and made up a character and sang perky songs, you better believe I'm sending a whop load of money back to my community. So she knows who she is, she knows what she wants, and she knows why she's doing it. That makes her believable. What would make you more believable as you speak? It does everybody. It works for everybody. What would make you more believable as you speak? Did she just tell a story? It's when you tell your stories. And your stories come from your experiences, your clients' experiences, your team's successes, the failures and overcoming moment. And right here is Janet Ray Fox, corner of Montgomery and Locust Streets, lovely downtown Shelbyville, Indiana. Notice the broken roof, the broken window, the broken fence, all the weeds. See my little brother's dirty knees? I am absolutely convinced that I probably have on mismatched socks. And this is my mama. Isn't she gorgeous? I would walk down the streets of town with her when I was a little girl, and people would holler, mostly men, "Little Foxy, you're cute, but where'd you get such a purty mama?" Hi, little Foxy, you sure got a gorgeous mama. Well, that right there is that 60 plus years of not feeling good enough. Don't you think? I was just barely cute, and I had this hair, and she was gorgeous. But this is her razor strap. And my brother and I went to school with the welts of that up the backs of our legs, across our shoulders. And one time the round end of that thing hit this eye. And I told everybody at school that I dropped a hairbrush. When I bent down to pick it up, I hit a doorknob. So I'm about 8 years old, and I know I'm supposed to lie to cover up for an extremely abusive, depressed, rageful mama. So how did that kid from that corner of across the street from the factories get here? I have no idea. I wish I could tell you I had what color is your parachute, and I wish I could tell you that I set a list of goals. I wish I could tell you I had a mission. I could have been a farmer's wife, a teacher, or a nurse. Those are my options in Shelbyville, Indiana. But I think some big administrator at the Census Bureau in the sky said, that little fox girl, let's choose her, and laid a path for me. And all I did was walk that path. I swear that's all I did. I walked what was in front of me. And I turned this way and it didn't work. I backed out. I turned this way and it worked, and I said yay and kept walking. So when I get to the end here, almost 30 years on television, I think I've retired and people keep asking me to speak and coach. So I have to start a business, working harder than I ever worked. I love it with all my heart. But I stand here in awe, in complete and total gratitude for a God that found me in there and said, take this path. So if I get out of the way of that story for a minute, I'm going to ask you some things. Now, you better holler out some good answers here. What did you feel for that little girl you first saw? What did you feel? Guys, this might be a new exercise for you, but I'm not going to say the cliche thing about guys who can't feel, because I know you do. But what did you feel when you saw a picture of that little girl? What? Empathy. You probably started to feel it when I described the house. What did you really feel when I described my gorgeous mama? And then the razor strap. Sympathy, deep, deep sympathy. What else? Anybody want to just hug me and take care of me? I wish you'd been my mama. So then what did you feel about a woman who could do that to her children? Rage. You know, I felt rage. I stiff-armed her for many years. Thank God, just a little bit before her deathbed, she said she loved me for the first time ever that I could ever remember. But she was full of rage, and that made me full of rage. And it was only when I began to feel complete and total sympathy and empathy for her that I could love her completely. So make sure your empathy pot is full. The reason that those feelings jumped in you is because I tried to tell it just like I remembered it. I tried to feel it one more time in my life so I could help you feel it. And it's called a phenomenological experience. I had to work for a week to learn how to say that, so you'd think I'm smart here. Phenomenological experience. I tell you something with great passion and great feeling, and you feel it. So I not only want you to tell your stories, but I want you to live them and mean them and help people feel them. And your impact will grow. You have to make them feel. It's not enough to fill them with facts and figures. Now, I know that's what you do here. It's all great. I'm so glad you do this because I can't count anything straight. So I love you for what you do here. But I need a volunteer to come up here for a second. Could I get you, sir? You have to hop up. Did I just make your whole face red and your heart beat fast? You know, I didn't know who I was picking, and I knew this crowd already. If I said, give me a volunteer, I wasn't going to get a lot of hands. So pop right on up here, and I'll show you why it's so true that it's not your heads. It's not getting into somebody's heads that makes them change. It's their hearts. So, sir, what's your name?
Doug.
Doug. This is Doug. Give him a round of applause. We'll see if he gets one at the end of this, all right? So now, I want to know, when was the last time you used a little small tweak, a little move that got you a big impact? Oh, that's way too long. It took too long. It took way too long. So now, turn that way. Now, I want you to turn over here now, and I want you to tell me the last time you used a little tweak to get a big impact.
I've never tweeted.
No, not tweet. But he said something, didn't he? Didn't he say something? A tweak.
Oh, you need
a
to
little
speak
tiny.
better.
I need to speak better. Anybody know where I can get a speaking coach? Okay. That made my face turn red. All right, now when you use a little tweak to get a big impact.
Oh, God, I have no idea.
Oh, see, but
with
he's...
my kids, actually, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
he said something. So that's good enough, right? So what drove him to say something, anything, fast?
Fear of getting sprayed in the face.
Fear of getting, yes. Now, I want you to clap for these people right now.
Clap.
You clap for them.
Clap.
You clap for them right now. And say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Because by now, most audiences are hollering, do it, do it, do it. And they didn't. But what drove him? It was his heart full of fear. I'm really not that kind of lady, but I just had to make you sweat for a while. Give him a big round of applause. Thank you, thank you. So if you want to change people's behavior, you have to make them feel. Did my own personal story change the mood in here? Did it say yes, big time? Did it change your minds about me? Yes, thank you. Did it change your opinion of where this might go today? Yes, maybe. Did it change the pace? It slowed way down. I could hear a pin drop when I was talking to you about that. Could you? Did it change the direction of where you thought we might be going? And can it change your outcomes? Stories can change your career outcomes. So I encourage you to go home, make a list of, start from way back when you were a little kid, and just make a whole bunch of stories, and don't ask about how you can use them or where you can use them, just make them. And then someday, when you need one, it will pop out for you. Anybody know who this is? The lady on the front row. Give her a cake pop. She knows that's Jameis Winston. Now, why am I showing you Jameis Winston? Did anybody watch his pro day? I think my television only plays sporting events. I do not know where my husband got that model. But here I am watching the pro day. He threw 91 passes and connected on 102. And half of those extra ones there hit the receivers in the letters and they dropped them. Am I right? How many tosses does a quarterback usually do on a pro day? 50? Yes, 50 right here. 50, 60? So is he on target? So to be a bold speaker, you have to be believable. And now I'm saying you have to be on target. Does anybody with silver hair know who this is? What? Marvelous Marvin Hagler. You are right. Now, why am I showing you him? I can't even stand to watch boxing. I want him to turn it off right away if it comes on. But I was in Boston on the ABC station, and I was told to go out to the tip end of Cape Cod, and I was going to work out with Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Now, they didn't mean that I was going to do what he was doing. Trust me. They just meant I was going to watch that and film it for our viewers. This guy had 62 out of 67 wins as a boxer, and those other 5 were draws. Nobody could beat him until the last one. He had 52 knockouts. He still holds the world record for knockouts at 78% of his fights. Isn't that incredible? Now, why am I telling you this? Because I watched his workout. And this guy knew exactly how many steps he was going to take in his jump rope system. He knew exactly how many bites he could have on his plate, how many ounces that scale could move, and how many minutes he had for each segment of his workout. He knew what he had to do to be on target. He had to plan, prepare, and practice, practice, practice. And I believe if you're going to speak like this, you have to be on target for that audience, and you have to know exactly what it takes to practice to be able to stand here without being shaky hands. And I have no fear about the words, trust me. I led an elephant into Boston Garden, 16,000 people, blew the whistle, said, "Welcome to the circus, no fear." You see, my daddy was one of those storefront, street corner preachers. And by the time I was 3 or 4, I was saying all my memory verses. There had no temptation, never mind, don't get me started. And then I had to play my accordion and sing. Try not to picture that. So I have no fear about this. But if you give me something that has to do with numbers, when my husband asks me what this receipt is for, when I have to balance my checkbook, I'm telling you I have a palpable stomach ache. So I know why people get nervous up here, but by being on target, you can beat it. You can beat it. We don't even have to talk about her, do we? She just won her 20th big match. Why am I telling you about these sports celebrities? Because they have a win-loss column. They even have an first error column so they see where they made their mistakes. As speakers, we don't have that. So it's not so easy to tell if I'm doing a decent job or not today. So we have this little checklist. Before you go to make a pitch to your boss, is the boss saying, I look forward to that, to our conversation on Tuesday? Or is the boss going, yikes, here we go again? During your pitch, or during a talk that you have to give, or during your update, when you go into the boss's office to do an update, or at a staff meeting, look around. Are they all working on their cell phones under the table, or are they paying attention? What about the comments after? I hope one of you will say I did a good job because I'll ride to that stoplight on that, okay? What about aspire language? Does anybody come up to you and say, I want to do what you just said? What about actions? Do people take actions? In some places, do you get higher sales or just higher salaries? Do you get more buy-in? Do your teams become more productive? That's how you know if you've done a good job as a speaker. Next, besides believable, on target, you have to be likable. Now, do you think that's shallow? Shallow. Guess what? People do business with people they like. Your teams work together for people they. Your bosses give you a promotion if they like you. Now, that's not exactly true in the government, I know. But they always can decide if they want to see you in their office or on their team or not, one way or another. So likable is not shallow. It's part of your career path. So people say these things mean likable. And then I talked to another group and they said these things. But a friend of mine did a book called The 11 Laws of Likability. Try to say that fast. And in it were a couple of three that I hadn't really thought of before. That to be likable, you have to have patience. We're just taught to be bold. But patience is also important. Here's the big one right here is perception. They say you have to pay attention to how the people are perceiving you. And listening. Listening. And it does not sound like this.
But Linda, honey, look at this. Right now, they can't do anything if we can't get everything out of the wall. If we're gonna break everything down.
I'm not breaking anything down. I'm just letting you know you cannot have cupcakes for dinner.
You cannot have cupcakes for dinner.
This thing never belongs to you. Anything, you can't get anything and anything and anything.
I'm done arguing with you.
I'm done arguing with you. Linda, I'm done arguing with you.
Don't act like that doesn't happen at your house, okay? But I like the but Linda. Now, you know, we go around our house saying, but Linda, but Linda. I believe two little words strung together into one cause World War III. It's yabbit. Yabbit. When somebody's listening to you and you say yabbit, it negates the very possibility of your being a likable listener. So when you feel that about to come out of your mouth, just shut your mouth. Don't let it come out, and be a good listener for your team. And here's Eva, the kind of empathy I think you can have. Eva Longoria has nothing to do with anything except I needed something to help you remember EVA, okay? And don't tell her I used the picture. It'd probably cost me $500 every time I used it. But I want you to have empathy when people come to you with issues. Or even if they're not doing their best work and you want to holler, instead find a little empathy. And vulnerability sort of sounds like this. Empathy sounds like, I get it. You're in a tough spot with this. I get it. We can get that far, can't we, usually? But do we get to vulnerability? You know, I've been here. I've been in a tough spot. I've thought about quitting. I've had to go home and work on my mood. I get exactly where you are. And then we rarely get to this one, advocacy. We have an issue. We have an issue. You're working hard on this. We're on the right track. We can get this. We can get this. When you use we in that kind of situation with a team member, what in the world do you think they say? Yes, we can. It's just a little lonely in the spot they're in. So Eva empathy, vulnerability, and advocacy means you're doing great listening.
Well, I got you something that Linda might not like, but I just thought since you flew all the way here to see me, we're going to give you some cupcakes.
I just showed you that to say Ellen, never mind anything about her life, is voted the most likable person in America 2 years in a row. Why? She gives things away. She listens to people. She's never unkind to the people she's interviewing. So when you are trying to decide if you want to be likable enough to have to do this or to speak a little better, then just remember to buy somebody some cake pops. It works every time, okay? Next, you have to be daring. And I don't mean in this way. I can tell you have to stand out, you have to be one of a kind, you have to take a risk, go ahead, take the risk. But I mean daring enough to throw a lifeline. When your people look like this, or like this, you have to dare to stand with them. Even if you can't fix what the problem is right away, just by speaking that you're with them, they find more ways to be productive. In spite of lower budgets, shrinking staffs, longer work hours. You don't have any of that here, right? I was just kidding. Dare to stand with them in tight times. So now let me ask a question. If you're at one of those staff meetings or you have to pitch something to your boss, how long do you think they will listen? Start counting. How long do you think they will listen? I saw one guy already look at his watch. He doesn't know I saw him. I'll forgive him. Ta-da! You have 9 seconds. Here's why. The BBC did a study, and they wanted to find out how long people stayed on your websites before clicking off. The answer was 9 seconds if they didn't find something of great interest. So by foxy extrapolation, which is why you don't let me work on any scientific data collection here, I say a website has brightly colored things flying away, it has little videos, it has all kinds of action, and this is what you got for me. So I feel like you probably only stay 9 seconds at most to listen to a speaker too. So no matter what the speak is. So here's what I mean by tweaks. Tweaks are micro acts to maximize your impact, and I want you to just try a few of these things the next time you have to speak anywhere on that speaking ups analysis list we made a while ago. Now, why do I give you a cake pop? To reward you, to look for a little bit of engagement at 9 o'clock in the morning, and because Starbucks used to give us Big Apple fritters. Anybody remember those things? Don't lie. I used to love those things. I didn't want to be seen eating one, but I loved them. And then what about those Morning Glory muffins? Do you remember those things? They oozed goo over the side and had goo in the middle. You can tell I'm a little bit of a sugar junkie, but their pastry sales went straight down when we got health conscious. They put 2 bites of cake on a stick, charge us $2, tell us it's only 200 calories, and don't we feel self-righteous eating a cake pop? So what do you think happened to their pastry sales? Straight through the roof. So it's only little things that can affect how your career moves along, how your ROI turns out. So I'm not going to tell you what to say. I looked at your website. I couldn't even understand what it said, but I want to talk about the how. I'm just full disclosure here. So I believe that you come with a full tank of everything you need to know in your heads to work here. So I'm not going to go there. See what I mean? See what I mean? So I was also, though, invited to IBM, Marriott, and my all-time favorite was the International Association of Pet Cemetery and Crematory Owners. I did not make that up. Yes, they sell caskets this big. So I get a call, and she says, I saw you on your website, and I wondered if you would like to speak to our national conference. I said, ma'am, I only have goldfish. Honey, we bury them too. I said, well, all right then. So I'm going back for my 3rd time this year. But this was the only burial sound of a goldfish I ever heard around my house. And they still let me come. They still let me come to speak. So I One more gulp, I guess. So I don't need to know your why. I don't need to know what. I just want to talk about your how. And you know what? I learned the how by standing on street corners for 30 years. That doesn't sound so good. But my point is, that's where I learned it. So I hope you can trust it. Here we go. Assumption 2 is you're just like Dolly Parton. You're not wearing a mask. You are totally believable at what you do, and you come with your own authentic voice to the task at hand when you're invited to speak. It all starts with a visual rhythm. When I came here today, I couldn't guarantee what the setup was. I could just guarantee what I do with this. So when you're speaking, people are looking at all of you, not just your lip flap. That's why I call this the death by podium box. But don't tell anybody who's going to stand behind it today. It's okay. It's okay. Did a fine job. Didn't he do a great job? Give him a round of applause. But we can't see you in there. Why is visual rhythm so important? There is no sound here, but watch this guy. He's going to get excited. Please watch the screen carefully. That was it. Did you see him go like that? So researchers gave this to a group of college students and said, how long would you, they gave them 30 seconds to decide by just watching this video if they would listen to him as a professor. What do you think the answer was after 30 seconds? They tried 10 seconds. What do you think the answer was after 10 seconds? What do you think the answer was after 3 seconds? So when you go into the boss to ask for something or stand in front of your team to ask for something, I wouldn't stand with your hands in your pockets and do this if I were you. So think about it. Think about it. This is what happens to his audiences. If I'm not dancing like crazy up here, you'd be looking like that too. Remember, I already told you one guy looked at his watch. I want you to embrace whatever audience you have, big or small. So do me a favor. You think you came to just sit and listen, right? This is an active class. So stick your arms out like this. Guys, this is going to kill you. I want you to think about embracing your audience. Now, you didn't have to pay to come here today. Would you believe people come to pay for this? They do. Well, I want to embrace them, but I want to embrace you for coming here today. You can put your arms down. You look kind of funny. But when we're trying to talk to somebody, instead of being separate from them, think about how closely you're aligned in your values and the way you live and where you work, and stand in that embrace, and your audience doesn't fall asleep. Okay, posture matters. Now I've said the P word. I'm going to ask you to stand up, and I know you're all going to stand up straight. So stand up for just a second. Now, give me your at-rest posture, the one you use more often than that one I just saw. Now look around and ask me if you'd give any one of these people a promotion. Okay. So now, give me your full posture, your best posture. Look, you switched from lazy and messy to confident, successful, ready to go. Now, I have my mother's back, so it's really hard for me. So I was getting ready to speak at the International Association of Hispanic Meeting Planners in Portland, Oregon, and I get a text from my husband, and it said, Foxy, stand up straight. Because you can have a seat. He knows that's, oh no, wait, I need you to do something. He knows that back is the bane of my existence. But watch this. Here's all you have to do to work on your back. Put your hand right here, and just lift a half an inch. Give me your at-rest posture first. Now just lift a half an inch. Now lift a couple inches. And look, you lost 5 pounds right away. Y'all look skinny. But what happened inside your body? Do it again, at rest. Hand here, lift. What happened inside your body when you made that little move? Please shout it out. Something happened. You stretched. You had confidence. Did somebody say power? You could feel more power? Yes, have a seat. I want you to walk into where you're going to speak, or even walk down the hall with that kind of power showing in your body. People say they don't like to speak because I don't know what to do with my hands. Who has that problem? All right, I'm going to show you. They are called the dreaded hangers for a reason. We're up here like this. I've convinced you to get out from behind the podium. You've got great posture. Now, what do? Where do they go? What am I supposed to do? They don't do the classic fig leaf, because where did your eyes go as soon as I showed you those pictures? Now, I don't want anybody looking there. I don't know about you, but if I were you, I would not be doing that. And this is not political. I just happened to find that picture. And this guy, look, that's terrible. So don't ever do that. So then that means they're out here loose. Now what do we do? So there is the classic belly button warmer. So if your belly button is cold, go ahead and put your hands like this. Just try it. Put your hands like this. Doesn't that feel familiar to some of you when you're speaking? Uh-huh. But now watch what happens. After a little while, you get a little nervous, and look at my fingers. What happened to them? They're going to fall off. I've cut off all the circulation. And what does that tell you right away when you see a speaker looking like this? I'm nervous. But I think this is worse. After a little while, you think, I probably should be doing a gesture now, so you do this. And it kind of turns into the Venus flytrap thing. And then you just hypnotize your audience. So that's not good either. And there are a couple of other crazy things. You just shake and follow. And if you want to know the rest of the crazy things you shouldn't do, I've got a workshop this afternoon. That's not a commercial. It's just what we call in the business a promotional tease, coming up after the commercial. Anyway, you shake and follow. So shake hands with somebody. Just shake hands with somebody. And see that thing right there? That little wiggly thing? It wiggles on me. It did not wiggle on Marvelous Marvin Hagler, let me tell you that. But just stick it all the way in there and shake. Go ahead, do it again. And then let go, and it comes out like this. See how your hands came out like that? Now, stick the other one up, and watch this. Say these things with me. Everybody. Over in Pittsburgh. Well, I can see y'all don't know where Pittsburgh is, so okay. All right? Or say, we can't keep going like this. And then you can do the 3-step backward walk to your PowerPoint. 1, 2, 3. See my slides? On this picture you see. And so they work for everything, don't they? Go ahead, say everything. Over there. I really want this job. I'll do it for you. Now, when you're standing at a bar, anybody in here ever go to a bar anymore? All right, say you're in the hallway, okay? Nobody raised a hand, bosses. I just want you to know that nobody raised a hand. So when you're standing in the hallway talking to somebody, you do not stand like this. You do not stand like this. You do not stand like this. You do this. Well, last night, my wife cooked a blah, 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 and my kids, they were out of control. And so that's what you do with your hands. That's natural. Turning yourself into a statue is not natural. When people say be natural, they don't mean this. They mean be all of you. So you shake and follow, you promise? You shake, and then your hands follow your words. If I told you that little story about walking that path, and I said, I just walked a path, somebody delayed it for me, and I just walked it, and look, my hand won't do it. It still won't stay still. If I stood like that to tell that story, it would not have the impact that it does when I use my hands. These augment and enhance your messages, even if it's just an update at a conference table. Eye contact. These are Angelina Jolie's eyeballs. So, aren't they intense? She's probably looking at you, Mr. Bostic, but she's probably looking at you way out there in the middle, isn't she? I don't know how she does this. But what has anybody ever told you about having good eye contact? They say to do it, right? Did anybody ever say how? I was in a group like this not long ago, and a guy said, my teacher told me to look at the exit sign at the back of the room. So if I look at the clock on the back of the wall, do you feel connected to me? Am I engaged with you? The next one is, you don't have to look them in the eye, just look above their heads. That's like a hovercraft right there in that part of the audience, in the middle part. Does it look like I'm connecting with you at all? No, I say, look at the black eyeball dots. And if you can't see their black eyeball dots, you aim for those black eyeball dots, and you'll aim in the right direction. Now, sir, how tall were you? 6 feet, so that I'm not, and he is. So now, if he stands and looks at me like this, what do I think about him? Little cocky. Who said something back here? Full of pride? Prideful, yes. No, he's not. I'm just saying, if he were. If he held his chin like this. And what if I looked up at him like this? How would I look? What? Shy? Somebody said submissive. My husband says I don't have that bone in my body. But what we want to do is make our faces match. It's not just eye contact, it's face-to-face eye contact. If you're the shorter person, lift up, but you don't have to look like that lifting up. You just kind of look up to make sure he's looking at you. And big, tall guy, don't look down your nose at us. Bring your face down to look at us, and vice versa. So see how that works? That's good, solid eye contact where we feel connected, don't we? Exactly. Your voice. I told you you'd get tired of mine. Are you tired? Raise your hand if you're tired. No, don't yet. Okay, here we go. Who is the guy right there on that line? How does he sound? The middle line. Monotone, exactly. But watch this. Remember the people that you've talked to whose voices end up? They start down here and they do up talk, and when they get up there, they finally quit. And then they start down again, and everything sounds like a question. What does that turn into if they repeat that pattern? It turns into a straight line, just like monotone. I can't hear it anymore, can you? Then I worked with a guy, I called him my little shoe drooler. He starts way up here. Well, Jan, one of the things I was thinking, what did you say? Well, I thought what we could do is we might want to try the, just drooled right on his shoes. I have no idea what that sentence said. So he calls me, cute kid. I worked with him for 2 days. He got it. He calls me. Okay, Foxy, I'm going to ask Jana to, what? I'm going to ask Jana to, Brian, you fell back into shoe drooling. I want you to throw that voice all the way to the back wall and tell me what you said. I want to hear the whole sentence. I'm going to ask Janet to marry me. Well, for God's sake, she needs to hear the end of that sentence. I don't know what the heck he did, but they're married and they have a baby. And here I am right here. I wish I could change this habit. I go up a little bit, and then I go down a little bit. Then I go up a little bit, then I go down a little bit. Then I get excited a little bit, and then I tell you something. So any pattern turns into monotony. So the idea is to think about a lot of voice variation. What's the number one way you can get voice variation? Sing. Who said sing? Honey, if you heard me sing, this place would empty like you wouldn't believe. Ugh. My daddy was the only one who ever thought I could sing, okay? You can change your volume. Have I been very loud up here? At times? Have I been pretty soft up here? At times? I want you to shout your names at me loudly. 1, 2, 3. And now whisper them so they have a little voice in the whisper. That's your range as a speaker. That's your range when you're making a pitch. We can't keep going like this, so what I want to do is this. See how it looks natural? But if you go like this, like this, like this, after 9 seconds, nobody's listening, so vary your voice. Why would I ever tell you to shut your mouth? Why would I tell you to shut your mouth? Because you hear this come out of it. If you know you're an ummer, in that little booklet on the chair, there is a practice plan. That's not a brochure about Jan Fox. It's a bunch of practice plans. It's safe to read. But there's one about practicing not saying anymore. Because researchers say that audiences like this would find me less intelligent than I think I am. They would find me unbearable to listen to, and they would think I didn't prepare for them. Wouldn't that be a personal affront if I didn't prepare for you? So that's if we our way through a talk or a pitch. So that stopped by this. Go ahead, shut your mouths real tightly. Hold them shut. Go ahead, hold them shut. Now just try to say a big out of that. You can't say an out of that. You can say a hum. That's not so bad. But if you keep it shut, when you hear who, what, why, where, when, if I said, what'd you do last night? You go, What are you going to do tonight for dinner? Most people. So just shut your mouth when you hear a question, and shut your mouth when you don't know what you're going to say next. Just think with your mouth shut. My husband would say that's not possible for me. But that's how you shut your mouth to get your ums. So remember, the number one way to fast track your career is by speaking better. Look back at that speaking ops analysis we did, all those places where you're going to speak, and raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I hereby solemnly swear to plan, prepare, practice. Do you think they meant it? Are you in the sales? Raise your hand if you're in sales. You're not, right? No. But you sell ideas every day to somebody. You're selling an idea about a person who could do a task. You're selling processes. Look, we need to change this process. You're selling plans. We need to plan better. And you are selling yourself. So every day, that's your job as a salesperson. And that means you have to speak your best. Can you do it? Can you do this? Can you be a bold speaker? Now watch this. Funny little thing happens. If you ask a man if he can do something, and he knows he doesn't quite have the skills, he says, I can do this. What does a woman say? I'm not ready yet. I need to wait a little. No, I would be in over my head. Step in over your head. Do you ever think I had an anchored training for a day? Reporter training for a minute? Never. They just throw you in and you go off and do it. That's another long story, but I'm not going to do that. But men are saying, I got this, ladies, while you're saying, not ready yet. So repeat after me. I hereby solemnly swear, ladies, to never again say, I'm not ready yet. Say, I am ready. I want you to sound like a man and empower yourself. Say, I got this. Let's hear it. And here's a 2-year-old philosopher that tells you when you are ready to go out to make your pitch or talk to somebody or do a speaking engagement, all you got is you. And you have to give it. And you have to drive the points home. Here's Rose.
Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself.
Worry about yourself.
You want me to help, Rose?
No. Thank you. No, thank you.
What do you want me to do?
Worry about yourself. Worry about yourself. I'll do this one, so gonna do that. You try. Worry about yourself. Wrong time.
Worry about yourself and drive it home. Drive it home. I don't know where she learned that, do you? You can't advance if you can't speak. You can't push your ideas up if you can't present. You cannot motivate if you can't communicate. So say after me, I got this. I think you do. I give you all a raise. Thank you very, 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 very much. Thank you. Thank you.